feed and chatting with you from South Texas. Perhaps someday.
Thrust vector control, how we're going to steer.
Hello, Henderson Field Airport.
So we're under a minute away.
Ah! Oh, no, it's AF. Good to see you. Speaking of friends, good to see you, man.
45 seconds and
Good morning. I hope you got some sleep. I have not been to bed, AF. It's AFS short on water, fellow Twitch denizens.
Let's listen in.
Sarah, hand on heart, thank you so much. I love having you in my community.
Time for a Starship liftoff.
I really do. All right, I'm going to be quiet, at least through ignition. We'll talk a little bit as we're going upstairs as appropriate.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have the stuff.
Spectacular.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
NASA would not, at present, use a drone shot like that. Yep, one engine out. Good catch, Trust.
All right, 30 seconds into flight. The rumbles are still building here in the Raptor's nest. We're seeing 32 out of 33 engines lit on the Super Heavy right now.
That's one of the grid fins on the right side of the screen.
Maximum aerodynamic pressure as we go uphill on the vehicle.
Max Q.
Already through Max Q.
All right, we just
at 1 minute
through Max Q, so we're going to continue on up. We still have about a minute and 30 seconds until we get to stage separation. Starship now flying faster than the speed of sound.
I knew you were going to say something about that, Sarah. It is both. It is mostly an optical illusion, though. But certainly that structure is changing shape, but it's not that much. That's mostly vibration on the camera.
Once we get the hot staging, a lot of things happen all at once, simultaneously.
Yeah, rolling shutter would be a great way to describe it.
The engines on the ship, starting with the RVACs first, and then
Indeed,
the
Kim.
center sea-level engines. Before we're separated, all of that exhaust gets plumed out the side of the hot stage.
Already at 31 kilometers.
Itself. All but the three center engines on the
over 3,000 kilometers an hour.
Shut down, so the booster never stops its thrust while we go through this hot stage maneuver. After that, the booster is going to do its flip.
This is the second time they've attempted the hot staging, if memory serves. This is the first time they've done it with this structure that they're going to be disposing of, expending.
As of right now, still looking in like 32 out of 33 Raptors.
This is quite a pitching, quite a pitch movement. I hope it's under control.
Those stagger down. They're going to turn off in bank, so you'll see the lights on the bottom left screen of the engines that are.
We still have all the engines but one running.
Groups, and you'll see those three center ones lit.
Those grid fins are moving. Here we go, staging.
Ship ignition. Stage separation confirmed.
Boost back burn, start up.
Acquisition of signal, Houston.
Hot stage confirmed. Ship under its own power. Booster boosting back. Looks like all 13 are.
We now see the graphics on the right-hand side of the screen for Starship's motors. The Raptor vacuums are on the outside.
Acquisition signal, status.
Atmospheric engines on the inside.
Ship chamber pressures are nominal.
Ship power and telemetry nominal.
All right, the first stage currently performing the boost back burn. This is expected to last a little over 1 minute. This propels the booster back toward the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see on your screen in the bottom left-hand corner, we were only using the 13 center engines from here on.
Boost back burn shut down.
heard confirmation there of good boost back burn shutdown.
H2 tank pressure.
I personally love seeing the shadows cast on clouds below by the contrails or the rocket exhaust.
Excitement. So right here,
There goes the section that they're expending.
this is our view of the jettisoned hot stage. As we mentioned, this is a temporary fix to help reduce the weight of the booster, excuse me, the super heavy booster. Future iterations will have a lighter weight integrated hot stage structure that won't need to be jettisoned.
Okay, so they do plan on resuming a 100% reusable vehicle.
Hot stage, the booster will begin to attempt its water landing in the Gulf. In the meantime, the ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers. And after its coast phase, it will attempt a controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and a landing burn just before splashing down in the Indian Ocean. But as a reminder, we are not attempting...
Trajectory nominal.
Good news there. Trajectory is looking good for the ship, which is on the right-hand side of your screen.
They had done, but it was part of the problem with the first test of hot staging.
At this point in time, as you can see, we have no engines lit on the booster.
This is the first time I've heard them say that it's a weight-related issue, which maybe means
water landing and ship under power of all.
it has indeed, Sarah, which maybe means that the weight is affecting the center of gravity.
That are lit, as we can see on your screen.
There's too much mass too far up on the top after separation, and it's affecting, and then they might not have enough control authority to offset it, so they need to expend that.
Super Heavy has been performing beautifully today.
Expend that section until they can replace it with a lighter weight section that they can make permanent part of the structure.
Is to do a landing burn and a splashdown in the water.
That's a pure hypothetical for me, but that would explain why they're doing that and why they think there's a solution that they can make permanent. Because it is obviously very awkward to put weight on the very end of a structure like that when it comes to guidance and control authority.
Of Earth as it's making its way back down to the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the booster is using the 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric re-entry.
This feels like we're looking up at the sky, but we're presumably looking down. Is it just me, or does the vapor feel like it's moving past the camera?
And we will be igniting 13 engines, and this is a great view on your left-hand side. Is a
hello, Divra. Good to see you, my friend. Good afternoon.
View from the ship. And you can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen.
Yeah, the grid fins are working very hard here. Wow. This is as close as they've gotten, folks. That looks very close to a landing. Oh my God.
And we have splashdown.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That is an absolute accomplishment.
Ship has entered terminal guidance.
That was absolutely incredible.
Indeed, Sarah, the company itself is run by a very, very competent leader who is not that man you mentioned. And there's a lot of really talented people working at every level who are highly dedicated.
Ship is going to shut off its Raptor engines.
Yeah, AF, that looked very good, didn't it?
As we mentioned before, today's test flight is not an orbital flight, but rather one that demonstrates the Starship's
Excellent. We just witnessed something extraordinary, my friends.
So right now, we are under power with just the...
If they achieve the same level of control with the Starship, this is a truly impressive
Also successfully cut off.
flight test program to achieve so much so quickly.
FDS is saved.
What an incredible...
Nominal orbit insertion.
Oh,
There's great great news there. The
it's
call
not
out,
actually
we're hoping to
orbit.
hear amazing views once again from Starship. We have our second Starship in space. These live views.
It is space, but it's suborbital as far as I understand it. It's right at the.
View we have once
Help
again.
me
So
out here,
exciting. We've got another
AF.
ship in space.
They've used these terms interchangeably, but this is not an orbital flight, but it's right up to the edge of it.
Absolutely insane.
And intended to be suborbital, and that's, I think, in part, if anything goes wrong, they want it to come back and re-enter without any human intervention.
Make this thing a reality. And I feel like every single time we do one of these, we're seeing something wildly new. We got to see the hot stage jettison and the booster in the water. But
I'm not a specialist in orbital mechanics.
Over everything that's happened. So we lifted off at 7:50 a.m. Only 9 minutes.
It feels to me like it's moving somewhat diagonally here.
We saw 32 of the 33.
There's a lot of venting going on as well.
We had
Hey, Devra.
Successful hot staging. All 6 engines on the ship powered it all the way into
and that's in part for safety. In other words, they don't want it to become orbital.
From the ship on board.
Oh, is this footage of the recovery on the ground?
Oh, this looks like we're actually getting some views from the ground still, potentially from Florida, of the ship as it's up there.
And get stuck up, yeah.
So
I mean, it wouldn't have been stuck very long, but they wanted to passively, in the event of guidance failure, re-enter promptly, I think.
Orbital insertion, so it's right where it needs to be, and is now going to continue on its way to coast until it comes to re-entry. But I mean, the booster.
And orbit is really, you have to achieve orbital velocity. And again, I'm not a ATC, another of our family from Twitch. Good to see you, buddy.
Ship now on its way to its primary objective of entry. That's going to be coming up in just under 40 minutes from now. So a lot still to come, but wow, what a 9 minutes to start this mission off.
Yeah,
so,
AF, I agree.
Entry's going to show us, but that launch was incredible. Back over to you, Jesse and Kate.
Wow. I am still trying to catch my breath here. That was some incredible views that we have never seen before. It has been
notice that with all the vapor we're seeing coming out of the aft end of the spacecraft, we don't see the graphics illustrating any propulsive operation of the engines.
We're going to take a break while the
So my guess is that's just system venting, or it's power production for onboard systems, what we would call in boating and ships' hotel loads.
With no communication blackout.
So they're not using the motors propulsively.
So, of course, nothing is certain. However, if we do have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. Views such as the one, that we had. Well, of course, because I said it went away. So we will try to bring those to you live.
Exactly. Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
So are they killing the...
Expected loss of signal, Key West.
Are they killing the show, or are they just simply saying that they're going to stop talking for the next 30 minutes?
Expected loss signal, Cape Canaveral.
I'm going to drop their audio level over here because they might run something with copyrighted music on it. There's actually a cool little strategy game that has both accurate Delta V stuff going on. It also has a 1-to-1 scale of the solar system as a map. Oh, that is very cool. If you're feeling it, Devra, you're welcome to send me a link to it in Discord. And if you think it would be of interest to other people, you could just put it in the game channel, like the other game channel. Noble Q pulling out the It's all animation and film card. Speaking of which, I noticed the movie Capricorn 1 was available on one of my local streaming services. Anybody here old enough to have seen Capricorn 1 or caught it in recent years? I wish I could serve you all your favorite beverage of choice and pass out snacks. I'm truly and profoundly thrilled to be spending this time with you and to get to watch this this moment of aviation history together, especially catching that landing. That what should we call what happened at the end of the Super Heavy boosters flight? The water landing, the arrival at the ocean. Thank you, Devra. Delta V Rings of Saturn. It's a pretty hard sci-fi ring mining game. Interesting. I personally, this is not a game, but I personally love the heck out of The Expanse. It got kind of crazy a few seasons in, but it had a very, very fun aesthetic and take on the future in the solar system. Ah, gotcha, Sarah. Diva, are you referring to the books that were the source of the Expanse series, which I have not managed to read? I was actually only aware of like one book. I didn't know that there was a series. There was a grittiness and an attempt to stick to the actual laws of physics that I appreciated. Ah, thank you, Diva. The subject has come up, in fact, recently on the regular Twitch stream about the health effects on humans. I was going to say all life, but humans in micro, low, and zero gravity. And I didn't get a chance to reference it, but there was a course that that famous scene where I think it was a Martian, or it was definitely an off-worlder, is partially tortured by exposing them to Earth gravity without any sort of accommodation. It makes it hard to accept the primitive nature of even that near future of spaceflight when we've been brought up on formation flying, rapid shuttle landing in spaceports, and docking giant spaceships in space docks, things of that nature, when there's a lengthy, cautious ballet to simply bring Crew Dragon alongside and attach it to the International Space Station. What was POTA? Oh, well, TC, thank you for being here, my friend. It's very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Yeah, especially coming from you. I very much appreciate it, my friend. As I was saying, I wish I could actually have a camera of my own and my own dinosaur-like frame down there in South Texas, so we could be sending our own feed out. Have a wonderful day at work, my friend. Oh, Planet of the Apes. Thank you, Noble Q. Yeah, I was just watching some sci-fi behind the scenes, looking at the way they animated the apes in the new series of movies with motion capture and the models. Pretty incredible work, actually. This is a very peculiar shape, looking at the screen, for a spacecraft. And yet, somewhere above us, right now, that silver machine is hurtling across the circumference, if you will, of the Earth. Obviously, it's on the fringes of space. But what an image. I believe that they did say that they would be checking out and coming back if the video feed came back. I can crank up the audio and see if there's anything else other than music. Just music. There might be another feed. They used to do it on YouTube where they just had the mission audio. Is that what you're asking about, Trust? I'm not aware of a secondary audio mission feed on YouTube or on Twitter. Sorry. If you are, I'd be open to trying to find it. It's not like there's anybody that they can talk to, so that it might be closed loop and not being broadcast for the moment. In other words, it's not a Crew Dragon flight, and they're not talking to the ISS. Won't be long before they're back, one way or the other. Coming up on 6:11 in the morning where I am. And as I mentioned, still have not gone to sleep. What do you folks think? Will they have as much success with Starship, which is the upper stage here, as they had with the Super Heavy booster? Thank you, Sarah. So if you're on the Discord, Sarah, did you see in the Humor channel that news story I found? Speaking of my affectionate nickname. I just stumbled across that. Yeah, it's just interesting to ponder whether they will succeed or not. The I'm not an engineer. Isn't that funny, Sarah? And I get called a dinosaur quite a bit, and that occurred in a park with the word fossil in its title. I thought that was pretty hysterical. Yeah, when it comes to something with the engineering challenges like this, Noble, despite being an early adopter of new technology all my life, I used one of the very first AI powered pacifiers, for example, when I was an infant, and was praised for that. I think that the way that they've been engineering and building this has been with the attitude which they've owned of going fast and breaking things, and that rubs me a bit wrong. Like, it just doesn't feel like the way to approach something like this. And so I'm expecting rapid, unscheduled disassemblies at almost every turn. I don't want them. I want magic to happen. I believe in the wonder of flight, but I also care greatly about safety. So yeah, and of course I'm joking about an AI enabled pacifier. In my youth, that we would have been lucky to have had first generation rocks and stones. Oh, nice. Nice, Sarah. Yeah. Is dummy what they're called in England? It's not a pacifier. The babies like drop their dummy, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I think, Sarah, because you've hung out during the stream, I used to fly a Rutan Long Easy, which was a very unconventional home-built airplane. And I flew one of those for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. I had access to it. Very unconventional compared with, thank you, ACAM. Very unconventional compared to something like a Cessna 172, which was powered by the exact same engine. So, yeah, it's. Thank you. As Ted Koppel once observed, the English and the Americans are two people separated by a common tongue. I don't know if you know this, Noble, but when I was 17, working at the airport, my second car, and I only had one at a time. I'm just saying it's the second one I owned. It was a '67 Triumph TR-4A, and I had to have, and I had the maintenance manual for it, which was of course written in the King's English. So I had to become fluent and understand what petrol was and where the bonnet is and what a spanner was and all of that sort of stuff. It was lots of fun. Oh gosh, it is the Burt Rutan Romeo Uniform Tango Alpha November. Remember, lack of sleep. Long Easy, LONG, Lima Oscar November Golf. I believe it's Echo Echo Zulu Echo. Yeah, I remember Ted Koppel writing it in the foreword of the book Inside the Cold War. That's the only reason I attributed it to him. He was probably, knowing him, citing somebody else, and I just forgot the fact that he was citing somebody else. Oh, well, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I was not compelled to build it. I was lucky enough to get to fly one that an office neighbor of mine had built himself, and I did some photography for him, and we were good friends, and he checked me out in the airplane, and I got to fly it simply by putting gasoline in it when it wasn't otherwise being used. Thank you, Noble. Appreciate that. Yeah, you could imagine that I'm sure the regulars here know that I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like to do work at a fairly high standard, and I beat myself up when I fail, which I have ample opportunity to do. And when I worked for Flight International, now called Flight Global, I was the only Yank on the, as in being an American, on the editorial staff. There were people that worked in the advertising department, but every once in a while they would ask me to write news stories for them. And the idea of submitting my news copy, my words, to an Englishman, it happened to be an Englishman, editor working in London, terrified me. I just didn't think I'd ever submit anything worth reading, or that it would look like it was contributed by a bonobo. I got you, Noble. Yeah. Well, especially when you folks are kind enough to literally gift me the gift of your time and your attention and your friendship. I feel, regardless of anything else, any other factors, that I owe you something that makes it worth your while. So, like if there are technical problems on the stream, the ISP misbehaves or something like that, or I don't play up to my own standards, it really bothers me. But the lads, and there were a few lasses, but mostly lads at the magazine, were actually pretty gentle with me. They knew that I was there as a photographer mostly. Actually, Jeep, so far things have gone pretty smoothly, we think, unless, as Trust points out, that it's dead. Good. Speaking of my friends, Jeep, it's good to see you, buddy. Good morning. Jeep's one of my clanmates in the Aero clan, along with Devra. I think you guys are the only two Aero folks that are in here with us. No, Trust is as well. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Trust. It was your genteel accent, Trust, that fooled me. I didn't feel like you would fit in with us. God, I'm so tired. Schedule. Oh, I got you. Exactly. Yeah, Trust, I apologize. I really do. I'm going to drink some water. Hydrate. Hey, Mongo, how are you? Yeah, I have not been to bed, Mongo. Speaking of kind, wonderful people, I hope you're having a good day, buddy. Trust, we need to get some games in. I know I'm not playing off stream much, but we need to find a way to get some games in. It's been far too long. Um, not yet, TC. I think it's scheduled for for 6 minutes from now. Oh, bless you, Mongo. They are still showing a varying velocity on what I heard. Gosh, what was it? Blue Origin's commentators once call the speedometer. And I hope I'm not seeming petty here, but I find it odd that a company that's supposed to be doing space flight would have people working for the company and doing their color commentary, you know, and using the term speedometer to describe velocity. But that's just me. Noble, I half expected you to use the term and help me out here, smarter people. Is it hydrogen dioxide? Isn't that the scientific bluffy way of describing H2O? Am I remembering correctly? Oh, Noble. It's not wet here. But I did make sure that I had a big glass of water. I thought they called dihydrogen. Is that it? Dihydrogen? No, that H2. You're right, Devra. I think you're right. Dihydrogen monoxide, because it's H2O. Thank you. Yeah, that's the way snotty scientific people will bluff people about water. Ding, ding, ding. Dihydrogen monoxide. Yep. We had a native German speaker in chat the other night, and he was confirming the translation of hydrogen and oxygen into German, and for hydrogen, it's here we go. It's Wasserstoff, basically the stuff that comes from water. What a very pragmatic approach. Oh, just music. Indeed, Mongo. What a great group of folks are here. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. That's a pretty impressive camera view. Yeah, just classical music. Hey, Nasty, how are you, buddy? I'm guessing it's me, Nasty. I never went to sleep, me nasty. Never went to sleep. Oh my God. Is that Welsh, Noble Q? Thank you so much, AF. In your astrophysics studies, did you ever encounter that construction of water? Was it as Devra helpfully suggested, dihydrogen monoxide? Yeah, I figured it was Welsh. Why is it that Wales produces so many really talented singers? Also, the roads look like they're incredible to drive on. Still music. Well, you may not like his music, but he's got great pipes. You're not wrong, me nasty. I'm pretty knackered, buddy. I'm pretty knackered. I did eat. Yeah, I don't have a long list of Welsh singer names memorized, but I've seen on those talent shows and stuff like that that they do seem to grow them there like we grow tumbleweeds out in the American West. Indeed, me nasty. I do plan on when the stream is done here, brushing my teeth and climbing my whatever's left of me into the sheets. All right, we're at the 40-minute mark.
Flaps of Starship 104. You can actually see close-up side detail of some of those hexagonal heat
Give me
shield
feedback
tiles.
on the audio levels
Now,
if
coming up
we need to
around
adjust them
T
up or
plus
down.
49 minutes, the ship will re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, the primary goal of today's flight test is for ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry. This is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communication.
Do you
with
see the
spacecraft
frost on the
because
structure
it's
there?
re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second.
That looks like it must be
At those
frost or
speeds,
condensation.
the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts, as you can see, that plasma blanket, which you can kind of see here, distorts communication frequencies. So we're left with a brief blackout in communication.
Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust a little bit. It does indeed. So for those of you that don't know,
and Starlink's
this is
really
what they're
allowing us
planning
to
on
capture
trying.
as much data as possible, especially through this reentry. Updated animation landing burn. I hope we get to see it for real today. But these live views that we're getting now and we're going to continue to get are through Starlink. That's going to allow us to get as much data as possible, which we've said it before, we're going to say it 9,000 times. The data is the payload on these flights. So as much as we can learn, that's just going to pay dividends on all of our future flights and help us get Starship to an operational phase. Re-entry, obviously a really critical phase of the flight, and it's the one that we're now most focused on cracking to get us closer to that full reusability. Starlink is going to be able to send us data back all the way through re-entry. We've done some additional testing, and we're expecting to be able to get data from Starlink thanks to its high frequency and kind of the orientation and everything of Starship all the way through re-entry. And then got a new view here. We have 2 external views. We had this one on flight 3. We've got 2 for this one. And we're going to continue adding views.
Looks like the tiles are in pretty good shape to me as well.
Again, this is an experimental vehicle. Believe me, I want as many camera views as you all do. So huge shout out to the AVI and the software teams and everybody that's been working with us. We're getting more cameras on Starship, not just because it looks cool, but this provides an incredible insight
it's moving
into re-entry, which is, historically a really tough window to look through. The physics of re-entry are insanely intense. One of my favorite NASA
certainly
astronauts,
looks more
Victor Glover,
stable
recently described it
than it did on test flight 3
and the flows,
at this
the
phase.
temperatures. It's like pointing at a raging river in one spot and saying, tell me exactly what's happening right there. like that's what a ship is experiencing as it goes through, as it's moving through the atmosphere at more than
It is
5
trust.
miles a
Indian
second
Ocean.
and heating up to thousands of degrees. So just having visual representation, just being able to see what's happening is incredibly valuable. So these views are going to be through Starlink. We've got this one. This is in one of the forward flaps looking back. So if you see
Exactly,
it
Sarah.
rotating around, that's because, again, it's embedded in one of those forward flaps. So as we get through and we start to build up density in the atmosphere, this view is going to move around as the flap does. And then the other one we had a little bit earlier is looking at one of the other forward flaps on the other side. Eventually, we're going to keep adding more cameras to Starship, get a couple of different views from the outside of all the different areas, and then also eventually to be able to see
We're getting some heating. We're getting some heating.
So a lot more exciting stuff coming up in the future. But right now, we're getting closer to re-entry. We're going to be moving at hypersonic speeds at more than 5 times the speed of sound. We're going to see that plasma start to build. So, Kate, Jesse, excitement coming up.
Yeah, as you can see,
That lighting
with
on the
that view
clouds
on
is
your
pretty
screen
incredible,
again,
too.
high def brought to us by Starlink. We can see the plasma beginning to build as the ship is getting closer to the Earth's atmosphere. Now, let's talk a little bit about how Starship will survive re-entry, hopefully, and control itself.
Exactly. We've been talking about this entire flight test. There's 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles surrounding the bottom portion or the Earth-facing side of the ship.
Through 100 kilometers altitude, good altitude for entry.
Great call-outs there.
Good spot,
Now, during
ACAM.
atmospheric re-entry, the vehicle is going to see temperatures as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit or over 1,400 degrees Celsius. So those tiles are there to help protect the vehicle from this extreme heat.
Yeah, and the flaps will help control it. Now, one noticeable difference I see immediately, those flaps are not moving as much as they were on Flight 3. So that is a great sign, right? We had unplanned loss of roll control on Flight 3, so we added some additional thrusters, and we can see that they're working well, and we have a much more stable view. So those flaps, there's 4 of them, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom.
Unplanned loss of roll control.
They're
Well,
made
there's a
out of stainless
euphemism.
steel. And yeah, they help steer the ship, which, as we can see, the plasma continuing to build. Now, if the ship survives re-entry, it will have to perform a flip maneuver as well as a landing burn.
This
we
is
saw
truly
this
extraordinary.
in a couple
Both
of
that they're
high-altitude
attempting
flight
this,
tests
they're
back
getting
in
this
like
far
2020,
along,
2021.
and that we're able to share it
Similarly,
from all over the world. And this picture that we're watching is just extraordinary.
Sounds like the temperatures that we are getting during this point, which again, we usually don't get during spaceflight because of this plasma. We're getting this live.
Absolutely, Sarah.
News. So similarly to, for example, the serial number 10 test
down
that we
to
saw
88
a couple
kilometers.
Years ago, we're hoping to duplicate that again today. Hopefully we will see it live. And basically the 3 center engines of the ship will reignite and gimbal or point to help flip the ship until
note that this is basically ballistic. They're
so
falling.
that it can land vertically using thrust.
There's been no burn
and
here as far as I can see.
Even from the beginning of the
to
program,
compel
we've
them
designed Starship to land on
to
Mars
deorbit.
where there are no runways or other humans to help out. We also want rapid reusability, so we're doing...
The vehicle is passing through 85 kilometers altitude. The flaps have control of the vehicle.
Great news. Flaps have control of the vehicle. That's exactly what we want to hear for this flight test.
Yeah.
Again, we are going to be doing a propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. And we are expecting re-entry to begin here in just about a minute.
Wow.
Re-entry. Awesome.
This looks like
an
arc welder.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
This is the same view that we had when we first
returned
from the coast phase. Again, this is looking at the side of one of the flaps. It's incredible that literally at the bottom
science
of this
fiction
picture,
made
we're
real.
basically looking through plasma, which is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Wild, very wild. Now we are expecting entry to begin here in about 30 seconds or so. Entry to splashdown is expected to last about 6 minutes long. And that flip maneuver should occur around about 10 minutes before splashdown. And
so
such
about
incredible
54 minutes.
views that we're getting.
Approaching peak heating region.
In the mission.
Great call outs there.
Yeah, these views are absolutely astounding.
Nose temperatures continue to rise within expected region.
And in your bottom right-hand corner, you can also follow along with the altitude of ship as it's returning back to Earth.
That's extraordinary.
So once again, this view is basically looking down into the plasma blanket that is building up around the exterior of Starship. It is traveling, as you can see on your screen. You can look in the bottom right-hand corner and see how fast it's going, how
So
high
I think
it
we're
is,
looking
as
at the
well as
trailing edge of
general
this flap.
orientation. Again, we're seeing a
The
lot more
leading edge
stability,
in
a
the
lot
upper
more
left,
control
unless
here on
you
this
folks
flight,
think I'm wrong.
which is great. It shows that the iterations, the learning.
Starship is now in expected peak heating region.
All right, great news there, telling us that this is basically the hottest point that Starship should get during its reentry. Now, the heat shield is working with the atmosphere for some free braking, okay? The atmosphere is helping to slow the Starship down.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using any engines or thrust to slow the vehicle down. Exactly what Kate mentioned. We're just using the atmosphere and those heat shield tiles protecting the vehicle as it's coming through that high heat temperature.
You're right, Mongo.
Now, this is another one of those moments that we have been waiting for. Right now, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and by all looks and all call-outs that we're hearing on the net, it is doing pretty well. Now, we do not plan to recover the spacecraft today, but rapid and
were you making a Rocky Horror reference,
rapid
Sarah?
and reliable reusability is the ultimate goal.
I don't recall seeing this kind of plasma in the
Just pausing to
test
just
flight
take
3.
in this incredible new and different view that we're seeing.
This is
we
just
did
sci-fi.
get a similar view in Flight 3, but again, the vehicle did lose a little bit of its control, attitude control, and this is a very stable view. This is great. This is exactly what we want, and we are hearing that we're getting expected call-outs.
Absolutely.
Starship is seeing half a G of acceleration, remains on a good entry trajectory.
You know, it's incredible to look at this photo and wonder, wait, is it real? Is it frozen? You know, we can see so I was just going to say.
See, that vapor that we're seeing there, which I imagine is
great
plasma.
news. The temperature is no longer building. But I was saying, we have a
Was
little bit
something
of
that we
indication
didn't
there.
see
We can
on
see
test
that
flight 3.
streaking that occurs and tells us that this is indeed a true view. So once again, we are looking basically through the plasma that is building up around the exterior of the ship.
And
Unless that's actually just venting of the propulsion system.
View of re-entry right now, live on your screen. Again,
Which it could
we've
be.
said this over and over, but all thanks to Starlink. We are able to use Starlink in space, which we're getting this incredible data. And not only just the data from the sensors, but getting live imagery of what is actually happening, which is great, which we've never been able to do live before.
Right. Now, just a quick future outlook here. So in about, let's see, at T plus about 1 hour and 2 minutes, we should hear a call out for entry transonic. That means that the ship is going near the speed of sound. And then about a minute after that, we'll hear another call out saying entry subsonic, meaning that the ship is going below the speed of sound. So these are all continued indications that the atmosphere, right, as the ship comes back down, it is getting through the more dense part of the atmosphere, and that atmosphere is helping to push against the vehicle, and those heat shields are protecting the vehicle during this high heat period.
I've heard NASA talk about the fact that there have been cameras mounted on spacecraft capturing plasma production during reentry before, but they've never had the technology, at least as far as unclassified programs are concerned, to document it like what we're seeing here now. This is extraordinary.
You've been hearing the call-outs. They're tracking things like temperatures in the nose cone, and those were right where we modeled them to be, which is really cool to see and to see in real time. But we're coming up. We're at about 67 kilometers in altitude. Our last signal with the ship on Flight 3 was at 65, so we should be making it past that point shortly. Obviously, as you guys pointed out, we're in a much better control this time as we re-entered in the right attitude. and our flaps have been steering the way so far. Once we get through transonic,
You see those
that's
blue
when
flashes?
you've
Are they
got
coming across on the stream?
essentially
Raptor landing bird.
different areas around the vehicle where the air is either moving faster or slower than the speed of sound. We'll eventually get to subsonic, which we have some experience with. We did in our suborbital campaign.
Starter
I would imagine-
And Starship will
landing bird.
eventually get down to its
I
terminal
imagine some of that is
velocity,
ablating,
as it's
burning
floating
off.
down to the water. That's just
Thank
about
you.
200
Yeah.
miles an hour or so. We are hearing that we're starting to chill some of the engines, as we are, if we make it all the way down to the water, still going to attempt a landing burn, but still a ways to go. We're at about 64
Indeed,
kilometers
ACAM.
in altitude right now. We made it through what's expected to be the peak heating, but now we're going to start encountering increased pressures as the atmosphere gets thicker and thicker.
This is incredible.
So we're at 63 kilometers, so we've already made it farther than we did on our last
Look at the
flight,
turbulence
when
there.
That last signal was coming
That
at
is
65
relatively
kilometers.
placid, that allowed those little sparks to sort of loiter
So again,
around the
what we're
backside of
really
the
looking
vehicle.
at
That
here
was
is
amazing.
The performance of the heat shield, of the flaps, of the seals in the flaps. There's just a whole bunch of different areas that we're keeping a really close eye on as we re-enter.
There's some, ooh, that doesn't look good.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
There's some chunks of what looked like molten
Looks like
metal.
we're still on a good trajectory. If you're seeing little camera moves, that's the flap moving as it continues to maintain the attitude of the vehicle as it re-enters.
Anybody
And I mean,
else
not
bouncing a
just camera
leg
views,
watching
but
this?
We've got sensors inside the ship. We've got those sensors down at the very aft end of the vehicle, where we
Down to
pointed out we
59
had some
kilometers.
intentionally missing tiles.
Velocity down to
where we've got
19,000
some
kilometers
sensors
an hour.
looking at just how hot it's getting around there. We intentionally put those in.
The air is getting
essentially
thicker. The
least
atmosphere is getting
critical part
thicker
of the
and
heat
thicker.
Shield, where if you had any kind of a breach, it wouldn't be great for reusability, but wouldn't be critical for actual making it through the reentry into the landing.
Totally calm, trust, but
58
Mongo's
kilometers,
pouncing
we're
a knee.
continuing to descend. Again, right now we are over the Indian Ocean. We're actually getting closer and closer to that expected splashdown point, which is just to
Down
the,
to about 17,500 kilometers an hour in
northwest corner of
velocity,
Australia.
altitude of 57 kilometers. Not changing too quickly. I cannot believe we have a picture, let alone live video.
And if you keep an eye on our speed, the speed is dropping. We're hitting the thicker part of the atmosphere now. The speed's going to start dropping precipitously. We're going to start getting to transonic pretty soon, and then after that we'll get into subsonic, where we're moving less than the speed of sound. But wow, what a light show so far!
That's incredible. It might mean servicing the shields, the tiles. That is heating at the root. That is heating at the root of that
External
flap.
temperatures are starting to come down.
Again, this camera view is looking right at one of the
That flap does
forward
not look like
flaps.
it's very healthy.
And we're strategically putting
I'm
some
seeing a
cameras
lot
around
of
the
what looks like
vehicle to just look at
molten material.
the different
Yeah,
areas.
parts of, yeah. There was,
Looks like we got the flap starting to come apart a little.
Yeah, it does appear that we have a little bit of burn through there. We can see
A
pieces
little
of the
bit?
vehicle flying off. What a show it has been. It's been like watching Interstellar or something.
This is wild to see this, but the ship is still coming down, which is incredible to see.
How far can it go? That is the question.
Keep your eye on the altitude in the bottom right-hand corner. We're at 54 kilometers right now.
Now, ultimately, the data is the payload today. We've been saying it multiple times. Our teams are sitting, reviewing this data live, learning where the hot spots are. As you can see, there's an obvious hot spot there with the flap, and learning how we can improve this
there
design.
probably
The
is
goal was
one
to
on the
get
other
as
side
far
as well. We're
through
just not able to
this
see it.
high this high
This
heat
camera is
re-entry
probably
as possible.
coated in molten metal.
Ideally, we'd love to make it all the way down and perform that landing burn and flip maneuver, but we may not get that far today. We will see.
Again, this is a test, and we are gathering as much data as possible, visual data as well, which we can see here. We are getting a lot of debris covering the camera on your screen, but we can still see some of those sparks and flames from that high heat as ship is making its way back down to Earth.
Ship now at 50 kilometers and closing. The good news is we still got, looks like that camera lens just cracked.
Yep.
It's safe to say ship's getting a little beat up, but that's to be expected on a test flight. We are still learning how to improve the ship for total survival and recovery of the high heat reentry.
I believe it was covered with molten debris that solidified on the lens.
How much debris is coming off of this flap
Sarah.
right now.
The fact that we've got it is good news.
Uh-oh,
And
that's a bad sign.
I may have jinxed it. I apologize.
Oh, it's back.
Look at that, it's back.
We are still going.
And the teams here at SpaceX are excited, as you can tell by the cheering behind us. There's still a sizable crowd here at Mission Control Center, Hawthorne.
A splashdown is expected in just about 4 minutes from now.
Well, it'll be down in about 4 minutes from now.
We still have live views. Starlink is
Vehicle
doing
is
an incredible
approaching
job.
maximum entry dynamic pressure. External temperatures are dropping.
And the
Okay,
lens
good news,
also
those
cracked,
external
Sarah.
pressures are dropping. The question is, how much of the ship is left? We can't really tell. We can still
Agreed,
see
Sarah.
some of that particulate coming off. And unfortunately, we do have a cracked camera lens. But for any photographers out there and videographers, we know that's part of the gig sometimes.
Yeah, and you can see that the speed is rapidly slowing down. That's actually really great news for us. We want the vehicle to be slowing down before it splashes down into the ocean. That'll help set us up for that
What I
flip
don't
maneuver,
yet get the
engine start
sensation of is
down
this
into
thing
the water.
tumbling.
Exactly.
And it
so
doesn't
we have
appear to
seen this flip
completely
maneuver
disintegrated.
demonstrated on previous high altitude flight tests like serial number 8.
I guess-
views.
I guess they don't have the other camera available, or they'd be switched to it.
That we have through that.
But there's a
cracked
lot of
and-
molten
and
stuff
dirty lens
around.
there. But yeah, so we're hoping that this flip maneuver that we can pull it off as soon as we get those views back. If we can get them, if the ship is still around, we will bring
Vehicle
it back
has
to you.
passed maximum dynamic pressure.
That is great news. Maximum dynamic pressure being the moment in which the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of aerodynamic pressure. Speed still dropping. We're now at 37 kilometers above the ocean. Just
Yes,
like Flight 3, we are targeting
me nasty, we just need to send somebody out there with a lens cloth.
in the Indian Ocean.
And we don't have a live view right now, but because we're still getting data and telemetry, that does tell us that ship is still doing okay, at least. And there we
Oh
got that
gosh,
live view back.
this is crazy.
The crowd very excited to see that view, despite not being able to see very much.
The fact that it's there tells us the ship is still alive.
Yes, and
For now.
collecting data, continuing to collect data as we get closer and closer to Earth.
Yes, now 30 kilometers, now 29 above the Indian
Starship is
Ocean.
at 30 kilometers altitude, Mach 2.
Sounds like the vehicle's traveling, as we just heard, Mach 2, which is, looks like we might, I thought maybe it might clear up. It is a little bit, now at T+1 hour, 3 minutes and 13 seconds into Starship Flight 4, hoping that the ship can hang on. It's probably potentially hanging on by a couple of bolts and threads, but it's still going, and that is excellent news.
That deceleration is looking incredible. We're about to go under 1,000 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Starship is at 20 kilometers altitude.
Yeah, it's
Now,
going to be
keep in
doing a
mind that
flip
even
maneuver,
though
or at least that's
we
the
can't
plan. It's
see
going to do a flip
anything,
maneuver.
the data itself is what we really
Starship is subsonic.
Subsonic, they're telling us it's traveling below the speed of sound. That movement means the flaps are actuating. I think we can see something.
It's fighting for life.
This is a nail biter. But we are, unfortunately, we can't see through the lens, but we're still getting the feed. Starship is now 11 kilometers over the ocean. All this data is incredibly important. Even if, you know, it breaks up right now. Okay, we can see that flap actuating through the glass.
Starship is passing through 10 kilometers altitude.
Okay, the next
This is
milestone
crazy.
will be initiation of the flip maneuver and landing burn. Keep an eye on the bottom right corner of your screen for those 3 center engines to relight. They will gimbal or angle so that the ship flips itself back up vertical and hopefully lands in a vertical position.
Something feels
The
like it's
crowd is very
igniting.
excited to get this view
I don't think
of that flap
that's...
still
Starship
maneuvering.
is passing through 5 kilometers altitude.
Why are we still seeing flames and sparks if it's not from the engines?
This is incredible. We're getting very close to splashdown.
These fireflies are such a good sign of life right now. We wish we could see more, but we'll take it.
I think we're about to just slam into the
Starship
water.
at 2 kilometers altitude, terminal velocity.
Yeah.
Landing burn startup for Starship.
The engines never started.
All right,
Okay.
good news
Oh, maybe,
there.
maybe they did.
Nominal chamber pressure.
Landing burn startup.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Starship is in landing burn.
Landing burn shutdown.
Holy crap.
The
Holy
landing burn
crap.
shutdown was
Unbelievable.
commanded.
What an extraordinary ending. What an achievement.
Wow. I mean, it was a little bit of use your imagination as you were going down with what we could actually see, but we were able to hear the ship did its landing burn. It sounded
Starship
like we
landing
might
burn
have got
shutdown.
2 engines. And there's the final call for landing burn shutdown, but we'll go back through all the data, but we did get confirmation that a landing burn took place. Starship made it through re-entry and did its first ever landing burn. From South Texas to the other side of the Earth, Starship is in the water.
I'm at a loss for words.
What a day.
What a day.
What a day, guys. Yeah. That was absolutely incredible. We got views pretty much the whole way down. Analysis said it could do it. We weren't sure if it was going to be able to happen, but Starlink powered through, and we were able to get signal. We started to get some debris on the cameras and everything, but we were able to see it. So, I mean, what a day. Just recapping, everything started off today. We lifted off from here in Starbase just about an hour ago. It feels like a lifetime. Successful super heavy ascent, boost back, and its own splashdown in the Gulf. Ship made it to space, kept its attitude. Successful re-entry through peak heating. We got to see it under flap control through the atmosphere, and we got call out of our first ever ship landing burn after a launch into space. So, just really incredible. So I'm going to take some time to collect myself, but wow, that was incredible. I can't wait for the next one. Over to you guys.
It was so loud here. I haven't heard the crowd get that loud probably since liftoff of Flight 1, honestly.
That was incredible. Congratulations to our teammates, to everyone who supported the Starship program. Thanks to all of our future customers for your support. And we'd also like to thank the people of Cameron County, Texas, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the government president of Mexico. And since Starship got a little bit toasty from that extreme heat of reentry, and we've got our very own Starship right here.
Oh my
Let's
God.
have a toast of our own.
I've been waiting all morning for this.
Okay, may I?
Light me up. Yeah. Just like Starship, I like this toasty.
I'm keeping this.
Now, we've got more Starship test flights coming to you soon. Be sure to follow the SpaceX account on X for more updates from today's test flight and future Starship tests. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
All right, we'll kill that part of it. Wow.